My name is Melissa Carter. I'm 36 years old. I live in a quiet town in Ohio. My husband Ryan and I have been married for 8 years. I used to believe that love could survive anything. I believed honesty was stronger than money. I believed a wedding ring was more than gold. I was wrong. The morning everything changed started like any other day. I woke up early to make coffee before work. As I got dressed, I opened my small wooden jewelry box. Every night, I placed my wedding ring inside before sleeping. It was an old habit because my fingers sometimes became swollen at night. But that morning, the ring was gone. At first, I smiled and thought I had simply forgotten where I put it. I looked under the bed, inside the bathroom cabinet, and even in the kitchen. My heart beat faster with every empty place. "Ryan," I called. He walked into the bedroom, still wearing his old gray t-shirt. "What happened?" he asked. "My wedding ring is missing." He looked at the empty jewelry box for only a second. "You probably lost it." His voice was calm, too calm. "I never lose it." He shrugged. "It's just a ring, Melissa." "Just a ring!" Those words hurt more than I wanted to admit. That ring was not expensive. Ryan bought it with his very first paycheck after college. He could not afford diamonds or fancy jewelry. The small stone was simple, but every time I looked at it, I remembered the young man who promised to love me forever. To me, it was worth more than any luxury ring in the world. I searched the house again before leaving for work, but I could not find it. All day, I could not focus. My students kept asking questions, but my mind stayed at home with the empty jewelry box. Something felt wrong. That evening, Ryan acted as if nothing had happened. He watched television while eating dinner. He never asked if I had found the ring. His silence scared me. Our marriage had not been perfect recently. The biggest problem had a name: Diane. Ryan's mother never accepted me. From the day we married, she treated me like a visitor instead of family. Whenever Ryan left the room, she whispered things like, "My son deserves someone better." Sometimes she smiled while saying cruel words. Somehow, that hurt even more. Ryan always said the same thing: "That's just how Mom is." He never defended me. He never asked her to stop. A few weeks earlier, another person had returned to town. Jessica, Ryan's ex-girlfriend. She had recently divorced her husband and moved back to Ohio. Diane was happier than I had seen her in years. She invited Jessica to family dinners. She praised her cooking. She talked about old memories. Sometimes I noticed Ryan smiling at stories from their past. Whenever I said it made me uncomfortable, Ryan laughed. "You're imagining things." Maybe I wanted to believe him. Maybe I loved him too much to see the truth. That night, after Ryan fell asleep, I walked quietly through the house. I told myself I was only looking for the ring. Nothing more. I opened kitchen drawers. I checked the laundry room. Then I walked into Ryan's small home office. His desk was usually messy. Papers were everywhere. As I searched, one drawer would not open all the way. Something was blocking it. I reached inside and pulled out a small black velvet box. My hands began to shake. It was my wedding ring box. Slowly, I opened it. It was empty. I stared at the empty box for a long time. Someone had not lost my ring. Someone had taken it. And for the first time since I married Ryan, a terrifying question entered my mind. What if the person who stole my wedding ring was my own husband? I barely slept that night. The empty ring box stayed on my mind. I held it in my hands for a long time before putting it back where I found it. I did not want Ryan to know that I had seen it. I needed answers before I accused him of anything. The next morning, I acted normal. "Have a good day," I said. Ryan kissed my forehead. "You too." He smiled like nothing had happened. Watching him lie so easily made my stomach hurt. After work, I drove to my best friend Emma's house. Emma had known me since college. She was honest, even when the truth was painful. When she saw my face, she frowned. "What happened?" I told her everything: the missing ring, the empty box, Ryan's strange behavior. Emma listened quietly. When I finished, she asked one question. "Melissa, do you think Ryan sold it?" "I don't know." "But you're afraid that's the answer." I looked down at my hands. "Yes." Emma thought for a moment. "Let's find out." I looked at her in surprise. "How?" "There are only a few pawn shops in town." I had never entered a pawn shop before. The first one had never seen my ring. The second shop was the same. I started to feel embarrassed. Maybe I really had lost it. Maybe I was destroying my own marriage because of fear. Then we walked into the third shop. The owner was an older man with silver hair and kind eyes. Emma showed him a photo from my wedding day. "My friend's wedding ring is missing," she said. "Have you seen anything like this?" The man studied the picture. Then his face changed. "I remember that ring." My heart almost stopped. "It came in 3 days ago." I could not speak. The owner continued, "A young man sold it." My voice shook. Was his name Ryan? The man looked at me with sympathy. "I believe so." The room suddenly felt smaller. I grabbed the counter to keep from falling. It was true. Ryan had sold my wedding ring. I wanted to cry. Instead, I asked the question that mattered most. Did he say why he needed the money? The owner shook his head. "No, but he seemed in a hurry." We thanked him and walked outside. I sat in Emma's car without saying a word. Tears finally rolled down my face. "I wasn't crazy," I whispered. Emma reached over and held my hand. "No, you weren't." I thought the worst part was over. I was wrong. The next evening, Emma called me. "Melissa," she said quickly, "I just saw something." "What is it?" "I was shopping at the mall." "So?" "I saw Ryan." My heart beat faster. Was he alone? There was a long silence. No. My hands became cold. He was with Jessica. I closed my eyes. What were they doing? Emma answered softly. "He bought her a necklace." I could hardly breathe. It wasn't a cheap one. The world around me felt empty. Ryan had sold the ring that symbolized our marriage. Then he used the money to buy jewelry for the woman he once loved. I wanted to believe Emma was mistaken, but deep inside, I already knew she wasn't. That night, Ryan came home smiling. "Mom invited us to dinner tomorrow," he said. I nodded. The next evening, we drove to Diane's house. Jessica was already there. She was wearing a beautiful silver necklace. My eyes could not look away from it. Ryan noticed. He quickly looked down at his plate. No one spoke. After dinner, I went to the kitchen to help wash the dishes. As I returned to the living room, I stopped outside the door. I heard Diane's voice. "You did the right thing, Ryan." "I know," he answered quietly. "Jessica has suffered enough. She deserves something beautiful." Ryan sighed. "I just hope Melissa never finds out." Diane laughed. "Oh, please. It's only a wedding ring. Your wife already has you. Jessica needed the necklace more." Every word felt like a knife in my heart. I stepped into the room. Everyone became silent. Ryan's face turned white. I looked directly into his eyes. "My wedding ring." My voice was calm, but my heart was breaking. "You sold it." Ryan opened his mouth. "Melissa, I can explain." I shook my head. "No." I pointed at Jessica's necklace. "That was my wedding ring." The room became completely quiet. Ryan finally whispered the words I will never forget. "It's only a ring." Tears filled my eyes. "No, Ryan." I looked at the man I had loved for 8 years. It was never just a ring. It was our marriage. The room was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Ryan looked at the floor. Diane crossed her arms as if she had done nothing wrong. Jessica stared at the necklace around her neck with a confused expression. Finally, Ryan took a step toward me. "Melissa, please listen." I stepped back. "I've listened to you for 8 years." His face filled with regret. "I made a mistake." Before he could say another word, Diane stood up. "Oh, stop acting like the victim," she said, looking at me. "It's just a piece of jewelry." I turned to her. "No, it's the promise your son made to me." She rolled her eyes. "You always make everything dramatic." Ryan didn't say a word. Once again, he let his mother speak for him. That hurt almost as much as losing the ring. I looked at my husband. "Are you going to say anything?" He rubbed his face with both hands. "Mom, please." That was all. Not, "Mom, you're wrong." Not, "Mom, apologize." Just one weak word, "Please." I laughed softly, but there was no happiness in it. "Even now," I whispered, "you still choose her." I picked up my purse and walked to the front door. Ryan followed me outside. "Melissa, don't leave." I stopped but didn't turn around. "Tell me one thing." He waited. "When was the last time you chose me over your mother?" Ryan opened his mouth. Nothing came out, because he couldn't remember. Neither could I. I drove away with tears running down my face. That night, I stayed at Emma's apartment. She didn't ask many questions. She simply made me tea, handed me a blanket, and sat beside me while I cried. Sometimes silence is the greatest kindness. The next morning, my phone rang again and again. "Ryan." I ignored every call. Then a message appeared. "Please come home. We need to talk." I wasn't ready. A few hours later, someone knocked on Emma's door. It wasn't Ryan. It was Jessica. Emma looked at me. "Do you want me to send her away?" I thought for a moment. "No." Jessica walked inside slowly. She looked nervous. The necklace was still around her neck. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. I folded my arms. "What do you want?" She took a deep breath. "I didn't know." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "I knew Ryan bought me this necklace, but I didn't know where the money came from." She removed the necklace and placed it on the table. "If I had known he sold your wedding ring, I never would have accepted it." I studied her face. She wasn't pretending. Her eyes were full of shame. "I came here because I wanted you to hear the truth from me." She looked down at the necklace. "I don't want a gift that was paid for with another woman's heartbreak." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I nodded. "Thank you for telling me." Jessica smiled sadly. "I'm leaving town next week." I looked surprised. "I don't want to be part of this family anymore." Before leaving, she turned back. "Melissa, this wasn't your fault." After she left, Emma looked at me. "What are you thinking?" I stared at the necklace. "I'm thinking this was never about Jessica." Emma nodded. "You already know the answer." She was right. The necklace was only the last chapter. The real story had started years earlier. I remembered my first Thanksgiving after marrying Ryan. Diane had made dinner for everyone. When I offered to help, she smiled politely. "Oh dear, you'll only make a mess." Everyone laughed. Ryan laughed too. Another memory came back. My birthday. Ryan promised we would spend the evening together. Then Diane called. She wanted him to fix her washing machine. He left immediately. He came home after midnight with flowers from a gas station. "I'll make it up to you," he said. He never did. Then Christmas. Our anniversary. Weekend trips canceled because Diane needed Ryan. Every time I felt hurt, Ryan gave me the same answer. "She's my mother." As if loving his mother meant he couldn't love his wife. I realized something that frightened me. The wedding ring was not the biggest betrayal. It was simply the easiest one to see. The real betrayal happened every single time Ryan stayed silent while someone broke my heart. He hadn't sold only my ring. Over 8 years, he had slowly sold my trust, my confidence, and the future I believed we were building together. For the first time since our marriage began, I stopped asking myself how to save my husband. Instead, I asked a different question. Could I still save myself? The next morning, I went back to our house. Not because I wanted to stay, because I needed to finish something. Ryan was sitting at the kitchen table. His eyes were red, and an untouched cup of coffee sat in front of him. He looked like he had not slept all night. When he saw me, he stood up quickly. "Melissa!" I held up my hand. "I'm only here to talk." He nodded without saying a word. For a long moment, we simply looked at each other. Then he spoke. "I know I don't deserve another chance." "No," I answered quietly. "You don't." His shoulders dropped. "I was stupid." "It wasn't one mistake, Ryan." He lowered his head. I let my mother control me. Yes. I thought I could make everyone happy. I shook my head. You made everyone happy except your wife. Tears filled his eyes. I'm sorry. I believed he meant those words, but an apology cannot erase years of pain. Ryan disappeared into the bedroom and returned with a small jewelry box. I bought this yesterday. He opened it. Inside was a beautiful new wedding ring. It sparkled under the kitchen light. I'll buy you a better one, he whispered. Please, let's start over. I looked at the ring. Months earlier, I would have cried with happiness. Now I felt nothing. I gently closed the box and placed it back into his hands. You can replace gold, I said softly, but you cannot replace trust. His tears finally fell. I love you. I smiled sadly. I wish love had been enough. I took a folder from my bag and placed it on the table. Ryan stared at it. What is this? Divorce papers. His face became pale. You've already decided. I nodded. I decided the day I realized my husband cared more about protecting everyone else's feelings than protecting mine. Ryan covered his face with his hands. For the first time, there was no excuse, no blame, no silence, only regret. Just then, the front door opened. Diane walked inside without knocking, just as she always had. She looked at the papers on the table. What is this nonsense? Ryan stood up. Mom, stop. She ignored him. Melissa is overreacting again. Ryan looked directly at his mother. No. Diane blinked in surprise. This is my fault. She laughed. Don't be ridiculous. Ryan shook his head. No, Mom. His voice was stronger than I had ever heard before. I spent years choosing you over my wife. Diane frowned. I am your mother. And Melissa was my family, too. The room became silent. Ryan continued. You insulted her for years. Diane opened her mouth to argue. He interrupted her. And I let you. I had waited 8 years to hear those words. 8 years. But somehow they no longer changed anything. Ryan looked at me. I finally understand. A tear rolled down my cheek. I know. And it's too late. Yes. I picked up my bag. Before leaving, I looked around the house that had once been my dream home. Every wall held memories. Some beautiful, many painful. I quietly walked out the front door. This time, Ryan did not try to stop me. 6 months later, my life looked very different. With Emma's encouragement, I opened a small neighborhood bakery. Baking had always been my favorite hobby. Now it became my new beginning. Every morning, I filled the shop with the smell of fresh bread, cinnamon rolls, and warm cookies. Customers smiled when they walked inside. Children laughed. Neighbors stayed to talk over coffee. For the first time in years, my home was filled with peace instead of fear. One afternoon, I received a letter. It was from Jessica. She had moved to another state and started a new job. In her letter, she wrote, "Thank you for treating me with kindness when you had every reason to hate me. I hope we both find the happiness we deserve." I smiled and quietly wished her well. A few weeks later, I saw Ryan by chance at the grocery store. He looked older, more tired. He asked if we could talk. I agreed. He told me he had moved in with Diane after the divorce. But things were different now. He finally understood how controlling she had always been. He was trying to build a life of his own. "I should have learned that years ago," he said. I nodded. I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't answer. Some lessons are learned only after the price has been paid. As I walked away, I noticed something. My left hand was empty. There was no wedding ring. For a second, I touched the place where it used to be. Then I smiled. I realized I no longer needed a ring to remind me of my worth. My value had never been inside a piece of gold. It had always been inside my heart. Love is not measured by jewelry. But when someone sells the symbol of your love, they also sell your trust. And once trust is gone, even the most beautiful ring cannot buy it back. My name is Melissa Carter. This is the story of how I lost my wedding ring, but finally found myself.